Good evening and welcome to the May 1st meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast by FCTV on cable channel 9. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. We're missing one commissioner tonight. However, we have a quorum. We're moving forward. Just a reminder for commenting, I'll call on each of you in turn, so let's not speak over each other. Also, all votes need to be done by roll call, so when I call your name, please state your name and your vote for the record, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you'll be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the act and/or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. However, a positive determination means that the provisions of the act and/or the bylaw do in fact apply and/or may require some conditions. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application. So as an applicant, you kind of want to hear a negative determination. For the benefit of anyone waiting for a particular hearing tonight, and so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following hearings are expected to be continued. Number 30, Thomas B. Landers Road, and number 53, Childs River Road. All right, first up tonight, vote minutes, April 17, 2024. Anyone?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes. As written, I tried really hard and couldn't find anything.
Carla Hawk, second.
Because Kristen's not going to give you an inch.
Nah, she missed a vote. What am I going to do?
Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept the minutes. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury.
Carla Hawk's eye.
Ron.
Driscoll eye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of April 17th. Thank you, Kristen. Next up is a request for a continuance under determination of applicability. Garfield Arthur Jr., 0 Brick Kiln Road, Lot 2, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to regrade the property and to construct a crushed stone driveway. Alyssa.
Yes, the applicant has requested a continuance until May 15th.
So moved, Carla Hawks.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until May 15th. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury.
Carla Hawk's eye.
Ron.
Driscoll eye.
Steve.
And aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until May 15th. Next up is a request for a continuance under a notice of intent. First up, James McLaughlin, Town of Falmouth, 30 Thomas B. Landers Road and the adjacent roadway, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install 2 infiltration basins. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance to our next available. Our next available is going to be June 5th.
So moved, Carla Hawks.
Bird so moved. Or
We
second.
are slammed on the other ones.
And I appreciate you not slamming us further. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until June 5th. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until June 5th. Next up, J.W. Saturnow, trustee. J.W. Saturnow Revocable Trust, 53 Childs River Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a pool and cantilevered deck. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant did request a continuance for 3 weeks out, which would put us at May 27th, but we have 7 new notices that night. I'm going to say a continuance until June 5th. We're just too
Agreed.
busy. Okay.
So moved, Carlo Hawks.
Bird, second.
all right. We have a motion and a second to continue this until June 5th. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until June 5th. Man, first day of May and we're already talking about June meetings. All right. Next up, our request for determination of applicability. First up, Patrick Robbins, 30 Uncantina North, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconstruct a deck in the same footprint and to reinstall required plantings in accordance with the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-3287. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawks second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Arthur Colburn, Carrot Shop Road, map and parcel is 29-08-008B-000. And trip over that. 20-06-063-000, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove sand from 3 locations in Childs River. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawks second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. The next one has been previously continued. Brings us to Donald and Nancy Colleran, 11 Foster Road, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to stabilize existing stairs by placing sand and resetting stones. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawks second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Doug Bigham, 3 Mayflower Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reinforce an existing rock wall. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawk second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Madden, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up is a continued request for determination of applicability. Richard and Judith Dionisio, 61 Miami Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove unpermitted hardscape, adding stepping stones and install mitigation plantings. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawk second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Madden, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. All right, next up, our request for hearing under notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. All right, first one have been previously continued, brings us to Minot Yacht Club, 68 Yacht Club Drive, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reinforce an existing stone revetment and to install a sheet pile behind it. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Raul is already up from Cape and Islands Engineering to present his project. Good evening, Raul.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant, the Minot Yacht Club, for their project at 68 Yacht Club Road in East Falmouth. If I got your permission, I would like to share my screen.
yes, sir.
And I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. I'm sorry about this. Let me try this again. So the project that we have is for shoreline stabilization along the northeastern side of the club. Looking at the GIS, this is located just opposite to the Washburn Island spit. Currently, the site has been experiencing some erosion, and I believe most of the commissioners are aware of this. The coastal environment of water going out of Eel Pond and into Eel Pond is causing some erosion, and the facility is experiencing some erosion problems. If we look at some aerial, so this is the spit of Washburn Island. This is the clubhouse building. This is the revetment that exists along the shoreline of the property. And this on the northeast side of the property, this is where we're proposing to do the shoreline stabilization. What has been happening is the property has been experiencing some loss of sediments through the revetment. The revetment is holding the property for the most part, but some sediment is traversing through the stones and onto Eel Pond and being washed away, and it's causing sinkholes behind the revetment. This is something similar that we have presented for projects such as bulkheads, where sinkholes appear behind the bulkhead when sediments kind of migrate out of the upland soil or the upland portion of the property through the revetments or through the bulkheads and onto the water bodies. So that's what is happening at this location. And we are targeting to address that problem in similar fashions to other bulkhead projects. So we filed this this plan for this notice of intent to install some sheathing behind the revetment, and we have some details of how that's going to do. It is similar to the projects we have presented on installing sheathing behind bulkheads in the past. Looking at it closely from the plan view, the revetment, it's all of this land covered with stone. And what we're proposing to do is on the upland side of the capstone, install sheathing. We reviewed this project with several contractors, marine contractors. Unlike some of the most recent sheet pile installation that we have proposed, this one is not vinyl, it is not composite. We're going with metal sheet piles. We had to remove and reset some of the capstones on this revetment, and we do not want contact of these large stones against some vinyl or composite product that when these stones are being shifted around by whatever weather is happening, we don't want the vinyl or composite to crack. So we're using steel sheet piles, which is the same steel sheet piles that in 2011 was done for the enclosure of the clubhouse, permitted through this board and eventually closed out in 2011. So we know that the properties to the north of this site have been experiencing much more erosion from the marine environment at these locations and the dynamics of the water going in and stripping out some of the soils from the properties to the north. This property, however, has been protected with this revetment, so there's not a lot of soil that's been lost at the moment. So we want to protect that from being the case. The resources, of course, we have eel pond, land under the ocean, land containing shellfish. We have coastal beach, the revetment, a coastal bank. We have a dune to the north, and the entire property is land subject to coastal stone flowage. The pink dashed line that we see in this plan, that represents the boundary of Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. So we're actually on the upland side of that designation. So we do not have to file with MISA. So that's the project as being proposed. One of the items that staff noted and added to the staff report was that there was this shed at this location that staff noticed it showed up sometime in the past 10 years or so. I reached out to the clubhouse. I don't have an answer of what happened with this shed, but it is there. We did locate it. Something we'll have to figure out is how this commission wants to address that shed that appeared at the site sometime in the past 10 years. But at the moment, I'm not ready to give an answer on about the shed. What we know is they want to proceed with the shoreline stabilization, and that's the project at the moment that we have in front. But I'll be happy to discuss anything that was brought up at the staff report. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thanks, Raul. Jen,
Yes, thank you, Raul. Raul, even though you're outside of Natural Heritage's map territory, we know there are plovers that like this site. They're currently out there now, so this site will have a time of year restriction put on it. I have no other choice. I have to. So it'll be that April 1st to, August 30th timeframe. But if you have the monitors out there and the birds aren't around, you'll probably be able to start work. But there'll be a monitoring component in that for the toy. Okay. And then, so the club doesn't want to address the shed. What about all the plants, the shrub material that was removed for the boat storage?
So yeah, I don't have any answers on those topics. I know apparently there's some activities that don't have a permit, and I did reach out to my contact with the club. They are aware. I just don't have an answer for those items.
Well, do you want to continue it to get an answer, or would you like us to condition it?
If the commissioners want to deliberate maybe a condition that I can pass along, if it's something that I feel the club will be acceptable of the condition, I could probably accept the condition. If not, I will be ready to continue. If I'm not comfortable with just taking the decision for them.
Okay, that's fine. I think our only concerns, one is the time of year restriction to protect the birds, and then two, the alterations that have happened on the project. The sheet piling, that I have no concerns with, especially since it's going behind the revetment, that's great. But we do need to address those unpermitted activities.
Yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, they've been informed, and they will also inform about the time of year restriction. There's a lot of dunes in the area, so they know about the plover, so they are acceptable to that. They will not be doing any work during the active season because they're using the club. So it is likely to be in the winter.
Off-season. Okay.
Yep.
Right. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Ms. Bergeron.
Nothing to add at the moment. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments, Betsy. You're muted.
It's just for you, Jamie, that I was muted.
Appreciate it.
No questions or comments. Thanks, Raul. Thanks, Jamie.
All right, Courtney.
I don't have any comments or questions either, other than a good presentation.
Excellent. All right, Jen, my question is the shed and the vegetation that's been removed, can that be mitigated for? Would that be the right procedure? And if so, do we know what we would want?
Let me check. Raul, is that area in a V zone? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I'm looking, but as I look, feel free to. It is, yes. It is in a velocity zone.
So the shed's in a velocity zone? That
Yes.
area? It is? Okay, we usually don't permit sheds in V zones, Jamie. So
Yep.
the shed might have to be removed, and then the vegetation that was removed, that would need to be restored. So that area that was next to the original shed should be restored to its a naturally vegetated area.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Maury.
How about the stone? It looked like a stone walkway or something was installed as well. So will that be mitigated for?
It would have to be, yes. More.
Okay. And there's a place there to mitigate for that? And-
Alyssa, you were on this site. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, the shrubs could simply be put back where they were removed. We could put some
Okay.
shade tolerant species in there. I'd say at least in the A zone, but perhaps preferably the whole buffer that was removed. I mean, a lot of the zone A is parking or tennis court at this point. So perhaps we could find some additional area if the board had a different location in mind than in the same place it was removed. It looks like it could be augmented a bit if you're willing to have some in the zone B.
I know, I was hoping that maybe there would be room behind the new revetment. But I you know, the new sheathing, but I don't think there is.
There's
So-
a small patch of vegetation being disturbed in that process, maybe a couple shrubs, but most of it's
Gonna be removed.
right next to the driveway.
So that's all that, when we deliberate that the area that's impervious be mitigated for as well as the shed to be removed. That's all. Thank you. and the understory being replaced.
Ron,
And no questions or comments.
all right, Steve,
Have we resolved the shed? What we want to do with it, or are we gonna address that later?
I think that's what we're deliberating,
Thank you.
whether it should be removed or
It
mitigated
is a
for.
bees,
It's a V.
Raoul, do you know what they use the shed for?
So yes, the shed is where they store during the off season the items for the tennis courts.
Can those items be stored in the main building since the main building isn't used in the off season?
That's what I don't know. I would need the club people to say one way or the other. If the commissioners, it is a velocity zone. I mean, almost the entire property is a velocity zone. So, if the commission does not want a new shed in the velocity zone, I have no way around it. Almost the entire property is the velocity zone. So
Do you want to take the continuance time to try to reach out to your client again? Knowing that the shed might be conditioned to be removed and that area kind of restored to shrubs so they have an idea of, what needs to happen?
if I don't get an opportunity to keep in the shed, and there's going to be a condition to remove, I don't think that a continuance will help me.
Okay. Okay.
If it's going to be conditioned or continue to get it removed, it's getting removed.
Okay.
Same thing.
Okay, I was just giving you the opportunity, Raoul.
Are there not
It-
two sheds there?
There is. So I think the staff report showed a comparison between 2011 and 2014. The 2011 showed the one shed, and the 2014 showed the two sheds back to back. And that's what's been noted. I guess if there's a B zone where it's no velocity zone, maybe a shed could be placed there, but it's related to the tennis courts. I don't know if there's many rooms that they can house those whatever items they store in there.
Okay, but Jen, why are we not asking for both sheds to be removed?
If I recall, it's been there quite some time, at least early 2000s or earlier. So I was looking for things that were unpermitted.
Okay, so we're considering it grandfathered, to use a turn of
At this
phrase.
point.
Okay, that's just wanted that clarification. All right, hold on, Courtney. All right, Steve, are you all set?
Yes, sir. Thanks for the clarification.
All right. Courtney, you had your hand up?
Yeah, if we insist that ungrandfathered shed be removed, do they have an alternative? Could they apply to put some kind of small addition on the existing building to house that stuff? I don't know what the rule would allow there.
It's
I
a
mean-
pretty big building, Courtney.
Oh, I know it is, but you don't know what they're gonna use that building for in the winter, and they may need the space for some reason.
We just talked about that. Are you in the same meeting?
Yeah,
Raul, you have your hand up?
So yes, I just got an email back from my contact at the club, and they're asking me to take the continuance, but they did want to answer. There's no room in the clubhouse to store what they store in this shed. So I guess after I get all the feedback, I will be asking for a continuance.
All right. Jen, you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments? Maury,
Jamie, I just had one. Raoul, what's in the other shed?
I just found out what was on this shed,
Okay,
but I can have that answer.
you'll have it at the continuance, but we're very consistent on new sheds and V zone. So I wouldn't be optimistic. They might be finding a seasonal place to store their tennis court things. Thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat function, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Raul, you have a request for us?
So I believe the request will be to continue to June 5th.
Ah, man.
Paying attention.
We need Raul on this committee. He actually listens and thinks ahead. I'm not saying other people on the committee don't, but it's nice to
It
have
sounded
somebody who's
like-
following. But no, I realized it sounded that way.
At the request of the applicant, I make a motion to continue this until June 5th.
Driscoll
Second.
second.
I didn't hear who seconded that.
Driscoll.
Ron,
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until June 5th. Last chance, questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Ron,
Driscoll eye.
Steve.
Aye.
All right, it is unanimous. We have continued this until June 5th. Thank you, Raul.
All right, I'll be back in a little bit.
All right, thank you, Raul.
All right, June 5th is shaping up to be busy too. All right, next up, Daniel and Lori Maxwell, 350 Mill Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, an existing single-family dwelling and to construct a new single-family dwelling on pilings. So they're gonna raise it and raise it. Hey. All right, sorry, Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm promoting Mike Burselli, Falmouth Engineering, up to present his project. I think this is a Mike
Excellent.
project. Okay. And all of a sudden, I'm like, whose project is this?
Hi, folks.
Mr. Borselli, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, for the record, Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant, along with John DeSalvo from Hutker Architects, who may be in the audience and is the architectural designer of the proposed house.
Do you want me to promote him up, Mike, since we do have some questions on the architecturals?
Please,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Sir,
Thank you. I'm showing you the property at 350 Mill Road. There's an existing single-family dwelling on the property that we're proposing to raise and reconstruct. The existing house is shown in a red outline on this plan. There's an existing shed in the back. The existing house does not meet FEMA standards for construction in velocity zones. It does not meet your standards for construction in velocity zones. It's located on the opposite side of Mill Road from wetland resources that include a salt marsh and a bordering vegetated wetland. We showed the associated 100-foot no disturbance zone from the salt marsh and the 50-foot no disturbance zone from the BVW and the 50-foot outer buffer zone from the BVW. All these lines do not actually reach the lot. So the other wetland resource within jurisdiction is land subject to coastal storm flowage. And in this case, it's a VE15 with a base flood elevation of 15. It's a velocity zone. And the new house is designed to be elevated and pile supported. And we believe that, except for some minor things that I think we can remedy, that this project meets all of your performance standards for work within a velocity zone. The driveway exists it has an entry and an exit, and there's an existing privet hedge between both driveway entrances. It's constructed of gravel. The new building will have a space underneath the elevated building that'll function as a carport. The remaining gravel driveway will be for access and additional parking. So there's no performance standards with regard to mitigation for increases or decreases in impervious surfaces, because we're not within any A or B zones to wetland resources. The first floor elevation of the structure is proposed to be 18.5. So this meets the standards of both your regulations and FEMA regulations for elevation above the base flood elevation. There's proposed dry wells for roof runoff shown on the plan. There were some minor staff questions and comments about the project. And the one I think, the only one that I think I have to answer for you that is applicable is what I believe the area of the enclosure is under the building. This is one of the Hutker drawings. This is the lower level. And it shows where the carport would be. It shows a small lobby with an elevator, and that measures just under 6 feet by just under 16. So 6 by 16 is 96 square feet. So I believe that's the only fully enclosed portion of the structure. There is another area identified on the plan called out as bicycle storage and an outside shower. There were some comments about breakaway panels on the architectural plans. And there is some enclosure around that bike storage outdoor shower. And I can share with you a rendering of the building, and you can see it's lattice work. It's not a true breakaway panel, but it just provides like passive privacy for those areas and sort of screens them from view. So I don't know if these really constitute breakaway panels, but that's the original design. And John is here to speak to more specifics about the architectural plans. So maybe it would be a good time to take questions, and then John and I can both answer questions.
All right, Jen?
Good evening.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Where's the stuff? Mike or John, how big is that quote unquote enclosure for bicycle storage and the outdoor shower? How many square feet?
I will provide that answer for you in one moment. I have a plan open in my other screen. I'm just going to calculate that for you. Mike, thank you very much for that presentation. The bicycle storage and outdoor shower enclosure as shown is 170 square feet.
So combined with the other, it's 266 plus or minus square feet.
So the board in the past have allowed, like, you know, smaller enclosures for a little bit of storage, mudrooms, things like that. So I wouldn't have too much concern with the bicycle and outdoor shower point. Usually we like the outdoor showers to be in sailcloth, something that's not hard or constitutes like some sort of wall, so the board can talk about that. But if it's only 170 square feet, I don't have too much heartburn with that in there. That said, the ones around the garage, those have to be on open pilings, John.
Understood, and we will
Okay.
remove those in our
I mean,
next
we
set of
can-
drawings.
Yep, we can allow the little lobby area, we can allow a little space for bikes and patio furniture and things like that. But the lattice work or whatever that paneling is will need to be removed from the garage area and just be a true carport underneath the house.
Understood, yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Bergeron,
No comments, thank you.
all right. Commissioner comments, Courtney.
Just for clarification, I understood that the rule was you could only enclose a total of 200 square feet. Does
Courtney,
that,
that's when you're adding on to an existing structure in a V zone. They don't want you to add on to an existing structure in a V zone where that V zone does not.
no, I'm talking about when you build a building like this, enclosing the area below the piles. In other
Mhm.
words, where the storage is, you have an enclosed area where the elevator is and the stairway.
Mhm.
And but I thought that the total square footage of all that enclosed area, including the elevator and a stairway could not exceed 200 square feet. But maybe I'm wrong on that.
No, actually, I remember it that way as well.
Yeah, so if that's the case, they gotta re-scramble. We've had several meetings where we went around and around on this square footage. I mean,
we've allowed more than that on other things recently.
have
If you
we?
look back,
Yep.
yes, we have.
I think it's
One was-
400.
Was 400.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with this, except that if there's in a velocity zone, we're talking about stuff that flies all over the place. I think we want to limit it. If the consensus of the commission is it's 600 square feet, I'm fine. I just think we need to be consistent.
400, Courtney.
Is it 400?
We've allowed. Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yeah, go
Yes.
ahead.
Courtney's team.
Court, we've allowed anywhere in between, okay? So that's why I'm not having that much heartburn with John's bicycle enclosure and his shower enclosure.
Understood.
Is because we have allowed, there has been some wiggle room between that 200 and 400. And the 400, I remember, was like a little mudroom lobby area, some storage, things like that. I mean, we have to understand that people are going to have patio furniture, they're going to have bikes, they're going to have something that they can't just leave open underneath these elevated structures. So you do have to allow for some little storage area.
No, I'm fine with that. I'm not.
And I think they've accomplished that in
Yeah.
this case with the garage walls being removed and being a true carport. I think that's been accomplished here.
That's fine. I just want to make sure we're being consistent, that's all.
I would
And if
not
it's
let you
400
be.
feet, that's fine. Or if it's a range, it's fine. I don't want the range to keep creeping up from 200 to 400 to 600 to 800. And pretty soon it's all enclosed.
Okay, I get it, Court.
It's called enclosure creep.
Yeah.
All right, you good, Courtney?
I'm done.
All
Other
right.
than that, it's a great project.
It is a great project, and the enclosure part is fine, and I agree that it's. I don't have an issue with it, but I agree with what Courtney said. Can you believe I'm saying that? That we've always used 200 as a starting point. I'm not saying that we haven't allowed more, but I can think of two recent projects where, and Mike was on one of them, if not both, but one anyway, down in Seacoast Shores, that we went over for 3 continuances because of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm just throwing it out there that, we need to come up with something where there's a hard number or a percentage. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, Mike. I'm not making you the experiment. But
Well, if
They
it could,
say it's
Mr.
okay,
Chairman,
but
that one on Seacoast, we started at 200. I think it ended up at like 350 when we really realized, when they demonstrated how much you really needed for a little lobby, a little storage in an elevator shaft.
I agree, and we're on the same page, but again, it was, you know, figure of speech, it was a battle going back and forth because what they wanted, what we wanted to allow, and I think we met a good compromise, but all I'm saying is, you know, if we say to them, they can have 350, we're saying to you, 200, 300, you know, where does it become arbitrary? So I'm off my soapbox. I just wanted to say it is a great project. I just think it's something we need to work on. So, John, thank you for removing those enclosure, for lack of a better term, over by the carport.
Thank you for the comments.
Maury,
Well, I have to agree with both you and Courtney, because if I recall on Black Beach Hills Road, that house on the in the V zone, we made them put curtains around their outdoor shower. They have zero enclosure except for their elevator. And we did the same thing on Surf Drive. The cooker, and remember that one with the cooker and the outdoor shed and the shower and all that stuff. And it ended up that, again, I totally understand the lobby, and you know, you need that space and maybe a little storage, but the outdoor shower can have curtains on it. I mean, we've made so many people put curtains on their outdoor shower. So I agree. I feel we're being arbitrary and capricious because we're not consistent in the exact amount. And that's why Courtney, when he said the 200 square feet, we either stick with 200, just like the shed, or, I mean, it kind of gives me a little bit of a headache, but I think that in this particular case, the outdoor shower could easily be accommodated with curtains, shower curtains or something, instead of more structure. And also they have all the lattice work or whatever. I kind of quickly looked at the architectural stairway going up. If you could maybe share that, Mike, if that would be okay, Jamie. I just want to see that rendition again.
or John, do you have the architecturals?
I got it right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
That one.
There you
Look
go.
at all, yeah. So am I correct? Is that all lattice work around the entire stairway going up?
We understood that those are to be removed as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So then we're gonna just be down to the bicycles and the shower. And I understand you want to secure your bicycles and things when you're away. But the shower stall, I mean, the shower is a shower. It can.
So we go and we have them, John, change it to some nice sailcloth, capey looking structure. You keep the bicycle enclosure and you keep your lobby. Would the
Yes.
board be fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead. There we go.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you, Jamie.
All right. Ron,
Yeah, comments is on that, the residence, the picture of the residence with the beautiful park in the background and the trees, it really looks nice. But in reality, there's 3 or 4 little homes all around it. I like to see how you can render that and make it look so nice.
Oh,
and
I didn't
By
mention
the
those are all
neighborhood.
slated for demolition.
Maybe in the next 10 or 20 years, they probably are. But right now, that's gonna be a monstrosity in that part of the neighborhood. That's all I have to say. No questions or comments.
all right. Steve,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to add.
all right. Betsy,
Or do I?
wow. All right. Courtney,
Yeah, just one final shot. I'm not trying to hold this project up, but as resident curmudgeon, I just think we have to be as consistent as possible about how much enclosure we allow. And I realize that we have to be a little bit flexible, but I think we need, as a commission, to maybe take some time to put our heads together outside of a hearing and kind of come up with a standard that we can apply consistently. That's my 2 cents.
agreed.
Chairman Matthews, I think you should appoint Courtney Bird as the subcommittee chairman of that.
You'll end up with 25 square feet allowed.
Does the board want to see revised architecturals, from her, or are you good closing it and conditioning it? John, if we condition it for the removal of all the lattice around everything except for your bicycle storage and your lobby, are you good with that? And you can get me a revised plan that depicts exactly what we want?
Yes, and if I may just ask a point of clarification that we are to reduce any area enclosed by either the lattice work or the elevator lobby to be 200 square feet or less in total, and anything in excess of that will be covered with sailcloth or something for an
Correct.
outdoor shower. Okay.
Yeah, for an
absolutely.
outdoor shower area, correct.
Thank you for the clarification. Yes.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
All right, hang on a second. All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're gonna vote to close. The motion and a second is to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Hello, Hawk's Eye.
Ron,
Fiscal eye.
Steve,
And I.
it is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mike. Thank you,
Thank you.
John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right, next up. I have no idea how to say this name, so I hope nobody takes offense. Michael and Jennifer Trepaz, 34 Sweet Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct a portion of an existing stone revetment. Trespass, okay. Sorry, no disrespect intended. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep going. I've got to get Raoul up. Wait a minute. Oh, sorry, I'm on my game tonight. Whose project is this? Oh, sweet. Why do I keep? Sorry, Mike. I thought it was yours.
Feel like I'm a member
Where
of the commission.
I know. I've got to move people around here. Just give me 1 second, Jamie. I'm moving Mike out. John.
You know,
out.
now that I was told that name, I remember that name. So I should have remembered how to pronounce it. Oops.
And Raoul's gonna come in. There we go. Sorry about that.
Raul, welcome back. You're up, sir.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing Michael Trespass for their project at 34 Sweet Road. If I could share my screen.
Yes, sir.
So this project is for stone repairs to an existing stone revetment along the shorelines on Buzzards Bay. The property, more specifically, is in Megansett Harbor. We see here on this USGS topo map, the property is right there in the middle between Rance Harbor and Fiddler's Cove. We submitted the site plan for the repair of approximately 25 linear feet of revetment along the shoreline. The project is adjacent to Megansett Harbor, which is land under the ocean, land containing shellfish. It is land subject to coastal stone flowage. There is a coastal beach, land subject tidal action. The revetment itself and the vertical wall on the back of it is a coastal bank, and then further behind that, there's a natural bank all the way up to the backyard of the property. So what has happened at this location is that over the years, some of the stones have dislodged themselves. Now, this stone revetment is more of the type of dump stone in front of a vertical wall. So there is a vertical wall all along this location, and it continues on to the abutting property. If we look at the aerial images from 1950s, it may even predate that, but this is the location that existed back then. So it is the same revetment and seawall that has been existing for many, many years. The neighbor to the west of this property licensed their reconstruction of the revetment, but the revetment reconstruction stopped at the property line. So they have a well-constructed revetment. I visited the site. There is filter fabric behind it. There is trap rock behind it as bedding stone. On this property, these stones are not properly built as a revetment. It was just put in front of the vertical wall just to protect the vertical wall. But what's been happening is mean high water keeps coming up. Ocean rise is inevitable. So right now, mean high water is at this location, but of course that's mean high water. Higher tides get behind this and are kind of shifting the stones around. So what we're proposing to do is to restore and reconstruct that portion of 25 feet. The applicant only wants to tackle that 25 feet and not the entire revetment at this moment. If we look at some of the pictures, this is what the revetment kind of looks like. It's just some stones laid out and some concrete that was used or mortar that was used to seal some of the gaps between the stones. This reconstruction of the 25-foot is not proposing this type of construction. It is proposing to use the stones, allow the stones to move around. There is a portion of the concrete steps at this location that will have to be reconstructed in kind, which is concrete. But the stone revetment itself is just going to be the typical stone revetment with filter fabric, bedding stones, and then the stones in front. When I visited the site, the toe stones that were on site were not of a substantial size to work as toe stones. So we're calling out for new toe stones. And based on my observations, we need about 5 new toe stones. And then the existing stones will be used within the body of the revetment. We did receive the staff report and I did pass it along to the applicant. So the staff noted that sometime in 14 years ago or something like that, there was some clearing that apparently happened at the coastal bank. The current homeowner purchased the property in 2014. So any vegetation that was removed from the site was from a prior owner. He understands that that is not allowed to be done without a permit. And he understands that he's not supposed to be cutting any of the vegetation. So we agreed to accepting that condition or that recommendation from staff that no clearing or no vegetation removal to take place at the property without proper permitting. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thanks, Raul. Jen,
Not at this time, Mr. Jen. What did you say about the trees, Raul?
So yeah, the staff report noted that there's some trees removed. The applicant, the current owner, is not aware of that because he purchased the property after that action took place. But I reviewed with them and they're not supposed to do any vegetation management unless they have proper permitting.
Okay, thank you. We may have some vegetation go back. We may have to, but thank you. Mr. Chairman, the board just has to determine whether or not, you want to see any additional trees added in that area that they were removed. And other than that, I have no problem with the revetment repair.
all right. Alyssa,
No comments. Thank you.
all right. Commissioner comments. Maury,
Is all the work gonna be from the upland?
So no, this is going to be accessed from the water. This is a very steep bank and trying to get toe stones down this bank will cause more damage than good. So this has to be from the water.
All right, so they're gonna, how are you going to do it? How are you
Barge.
Getting there? All right, a
So
barge.
it will be by barge.
Okay, because it didn't say, I didn't see it in your notes. And the other thing is, I guess the trees, and that's something we'll deliberate on. Thank you.
All right, Ron,
I had the same question about the, how you're gonna get those toe stones down there, even with the barge. Is there any eelgrass or anything else on the shoreline that can be affected by the barge and the work that's going on?
So from my observations, this shoreline is very rocky. That's the best observation I have at the moment. But any access through the upland is, I think those that went to the site would agree, it will cause a lot more damage.
I understand it's too steep to work from the upland, but if you're gonna work on the water, just wondering what's down there so that any possible damage to what's there.
So right, the activity is not always going to be from the barge. So the barge is going to be the access point to deliver the materials, but the actual work is happening along the beach.
All right.
Yeah, that's what.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Steve,
I don't have any other questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Betsy,
Yeah, well, I have the same questions that Maury and Ron had. Are you gonna need like a bobcat on the beach to move these rocks around?
So
And if so, how are you gonna get it there?
So not a bobcat. A bobcat will not be able to move this type of stones. So it will be an excavator that will be launched on the beach to dig the toe stone down 4 feet and then replace or reset the stones on the body of the revetment.
Hi, sweet boy. Hi. Angel.
So yeah, a bobcat cannot move these stones. This is an excavator with a
Yeah,
claw.
how is the excavator gonna get onto the beach?
Right. So a barge would get to the beach and ramp down the excavator on the beach.
Okay, and the other question is, so this is a perfect example of, you could see big voids where sand had been washed out from inside. Are you gonna get rid of, are you gonna just have rocks? Are you gonna get rid of all the concrete that was dumped in through the years?
So no, there's the portion of the concrete that is within the area that we're working with, that portion of the concrete, yeah, that's dislodged between the rocks. So that's not going to be going back, and we're not proposing to seal any cracks with concrete between the stones. What is going to be used for concrete is the reconstruction of the stairs if the stairs are affected with the work.
Yeah,
But-
that's fine.
But the material that is kind of being used as to replace the voids left behind by the sand is mostly going to be by the big toe stone that's going to be set. Then there's going to be a 12-inch trap rock bedding within the filter fabric. So that volume is occupying some of the voids that are currently between the stones.
Okay. It's a difficult site to access. Challenging site.
Yeah,
all right, you good?
Yeah.
All right,
Raoul,
Courtney,
oh,
No comments.
all right, Jen,
sorry, I thought everybody was done. Raoul, and I apologize if I missed this. They chosen a contractor yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay, so probably we might have to have like a pre-construction with the contractor, just so we have like a very clear idea how they're gonna access this site.
Yep.
Okay.
all right. Any other commissioner comments or questions? Maury,
I'm sorry, but I had a couple more, because it really is it's a very vague notice of intent when it comes to the methodology. You know, the barge not floating at all times. I think Ron had a really good point. We have no clue. It's land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, eelgrass, it's a challenging site, but it's also a challenging environment. So can we condition all of that?
What do you want to condition more?
Well, I mean, we always condition the barge floats at all times. We usually have that the machine doesn't sit on the beach. Because if it's an excavator, the mean high water, it said, you can see right here where it says, um, high tide line, which is beyond, landward of the revetment. So is this machine just gonna sit down there or is it gonna go back on the barge between tides? You're gonna work the tides? I mean, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
I don't want to see an excavator sitting on the beach and everybody go home on Friday night and the barge is gone and the excavator's sitting on the beach and we can't do anything about it. And I reread this notice of intent 3 times and there's no methodology whatsoever.
So I think Maury's question is, can we condition methodology, or is that something that ask Raul with coming up with before we close?
Well, a couple of things. More, as you know, the barge is gonna spud down.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be it's not gonna be resting, the barge itself's not gonna be resting on the bottom, but it's gonna have 4 posts that are holding it in place.
Yeah.
It can't
Well,
float. It's not gonna be anchored just floating out there. They're gonna put those spuds
Yeah,
down and
spuds.
they're gonna stay there.
And land containing shellfish.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
But that said, I mean, if you feel comfortable conditioning it, we can. That's why I'm asking for the pre-construction. I don't think anybody's gonna wanna leave their excavator out where it's going to be, underwater or subject to tides. I mean, that'll ruin the machine.
Yeah, but do you remember on Cantina Road? Do you remember that excavator sitting down in the water, digging along? Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess I just have bad memories. I'm sorry, Raul.
No,
I wouldn't
Like
assume that
PTSD.
that wouldn't happen. We know that that's happened in other projects.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
I remember seeing a bobcat going through the water.
I do, yeah, and yeah, and and if it's rented equipment, Jen, actually, they really don't care if it sits in the water.
Yeah, that's true. It's really up to the board. I mean, if the board wants Raul to go back and maybe the applicant, try to go out and find a marine contractor to work with, have them come back, have them talk to us. If that gives you a certain comfort level, that's fine. We can continue it, or we can condition it the best we can, that the machines aren't in the water, that the barge, can't be aground, because it's gonna be floating and it's spudded down place. So it really is the comfort level of the board.
So if we can condition it and we condition that there's a pre-construction with the contractor, I think whether we continue it or not, would do that anyway. So
Yeah.
the continuance won't benefit. It's just that we condition it with those in there.
Correct.
Fine, okay.
All right, Courtney,
Yeah, I recall that we even used to condition with excavators and other equipment that in this kind of situation, that the hydraulics all be replaced with some kind of vegetable-based oil.
We
Am
always
I
do that.
correct in that? Yeah.
Yes, you
Yes.
are correct, Courtney.
So, I mean, is that part of the standard conditions?
I can put it in there.
I mean, we should, particularly if it's gonna sit on that beach.
Okay.
hold on, everyone. Raul,
So yeah, I did look at the narrative and the plan. So there is a construction methodology on the plan, but I was vague on the time of when the barge is accessing the site. But we agree that during the high tide period, the 2 hours on the high tide is the best location to bring the materials. Now, similar to other riprap repair projects that I've been involved in, when they bring some of these stones from the water side, they bring the material, they drop the material on the beach side, and then the barge moves away. The machine, like is being discussed, does not want to stay in the water, in the salt water. That will completely ruin the machines over time. But yes, there's going to be excavation on the beach, so we have to have the machine on the beach, digging the toe stones in. Once that first row of toe stones is in, then the other stones that are on site are going to be placed behind the toe stone. So the barge access to the site is temporary just to bring the materials and bring the equipment. And then, yes, we can condition that equipment gets removed from the water reach when it's not being used, and then the barge will be barged out when they're not being used.
Betsy, you had your hand up?
Yeah, we're talking an area that has at least a 4-foot tide, aren't we? And there's a lot of water movement there. So I think it's placing a lot of burden on you, Jen, and the staff to make sure whoever this contractor is aware of the potential issues. I'll just put it that way. I mean, we can say what needs to be done, with whether people follow that when they're out in the field. I'd be more comfortable if they chose a contractor that, you know, somebody that we know here. But I mean, you can't tell people who to choose.
So I'm not sure where we stand. I mean, we want to condition everything we've just spoke of. That's not really putting any burden on staff, except to contribute whatever you think, you know, we might have missed. But it's what it's really coming down to is enforcing the conditions. And that can't be on staff. So Raul, would you accept the conditions as we've kind of been discussing?
Right, I am in agreement that no equipment can be left working in the water. So when the day is over, the equipment has to be above water. And like I think Jen was the one that pointed out, high tide line goes almost all the way up to the stone. So if no equipment is conditioned to not be in the water, after work hours, the machine is back on the barge and the barge is away from the shore.
Okay. So I'm just giving you the opportunity that, you know, if you, our principal accept the conditions we've been kind of throwing around, versus if you want to request a continuance and come up with a specific methodology, we'd give you that option too, I think. We're probably at the same result, but.
I'll accept the conditions.
I mean, they're kind of normal for this type of project. It's a specific area that's more vulnerable. So your work day is probably going to be a lot shorter than other places because you're going to be playing the tide. But that's the nature of the business, you know. Courtney, something new?
No, I kind of agree with the general gist of it. We gotta write site-specific conditions. And if that means the excavator's gotta go back on the barge every night, that's fine. If he can't,
Just jotted that down.
huh?
I said I just jotted that down.
And I would also specify that he can't go on the beach if, you know, you got tides where, in other words, if he can't be sitting on a dry beach, he can't be there. You know, I mean, if the tides are such that the water's up to above the toe stones, how can he can't work?
Right. So they need to play the tide.
Yeah, the tides have to be in there.
All right. Raul?
So yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're doing is installing a new toe stone. So we're digging this toe stone in. That if the high tide is in action, there's no digging happening. The tides are gonna fill whatever hole you try to make. So yes, there's definitely the toe stone installation has to happen at low tides. There's just not much that can be done around that.
No, I know, but it's still worth putting in the conditions.
All right. Any other commissioner comments or questions?
Just
Ron?
how many tide cycles do you think it's going to take to do this work?
I honestly don't know. I believe if the low tide cycles are happening during the mid-morning to noontime, it's gonna be less tide cycles, but I guess it's up to the schedule from whoever the contractor is gonna be. And of course, the tide is gonna change an hour out every day. So some days they're gonna be probably working during day, and probably other days they'll probably not be able to work.
This is a long term. This is gonna take weeks, not days.
Uh,
I've seen much bigger revetments constructed in a couple of weeks. This is just 25 feet, but
Yeah.
it is challenging. There's no question about that. So it could be a couple of weeks.
They just have to catch the right tide cycle, that's all.
Yeah.
All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Only the applicant saying he can share a picture from the water side if the board wanted to see it. I don't think it's necessary, but if the board wants to see a photo.
I saw it in person.
Okay. Then
All right,
there's no
anything
other
else?
public chats, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Thinking. Nobody wants to say anything?
We didn't hear you, Jamie.
Looking for a motion to either close or continue.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
Gladfelter.
All right,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Anything else?
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, I just have a comment. Raul, this is not up to your standards as far as methodology. I expect better from you. We expect better from you. You expect better from you. That's all, Jamie.
All right, properly reprimanded. All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Anything else? We're voting to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
All Hawks eye.
Ron,
Driscoll eye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Raul.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Night, Raoul.
All right, next up. Thomas Esselman, Second Esset Hills Association, Inc., 200 Second Esset Road. Second Esset Road adjacent to 24 and 28 Saltworks Way, and Wigwam Road adjacent to 10, 15, and 34 Wigwam Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install drainage improvements. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Mark Dibb from Cape and Islands Engineering to present his project. Good evening, Mark.
excellent.
Good evening,
Mr.
everybody.
Dibb, you're up, sir.
Good evening, Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands Engineering on behalf of the applicant, Tom Esselman and Saconesset Hills. Tom is probably online, but I'll go through if we need him to answer any questions. He can raise his hand and join us. With your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, tonight we submitted a notice of intent to repair and improve drainage conditions at two areas within the Saconesset Hills Association development. I'll start the first part of the presentation on the Saconesset Road side, and maybe we'll discuss that, answer any questions on that, and then we'll move to the other area, and then we'll can answer any final questions. So the end of the Saconesset Road, Saconesset Road ends in a beach parking area. there has become a puddle that forms at a low spot, which is in between the hill that comes down Saconesset Road and the parking area. And this puddle was an ongoing project at 192 Saconesset Road. It was determined, I believe, at some point that road runoff was basically draining into a low area on that property, which was documented as a BVW. And during that project, a berm was placed along the road to stop that discharge into the BVW that existed in that area. So the purpose of this project is, number one, to make sure that discharge continues to be stopped from that area, and to fix the drainage condition that exists today that is a low spot in this area that creates a rather large puddle and potentially limits access to the paved parking area. So the parking area is located along Buzzards Bay is further to the west, Little Sippewassett Creek to the south, the associated riprap, Coastal Beach, Coastal Dune, Coastal Bank have all been delineated on this plan. There is also flood zones on the plan. This is the line between VE 20 and 19. So the parking area is in the velocity zone, which then ends up, as you go uphill back up Saconesset Road, you finally get to an A zone and an X zone. So the entire property, or the entire project, is both within the velocity zone and the A buffer zone for Falmouth. So the proposal is to basically eliminate that low spot, is the first part of the proposal, by starting at essentially elevation 10 and matching grade for the first 20, 30, 40 feet, and then just running a minimal slope all the way to the end of the parking area. And what that'll do is, number one, will allow the runoff via Cape Cod berms. It'll stay on the property to make it towards the end of the paved parking area, where we've proposing some drainage improvements as well. Just, it'll continue to get by the area that was the problem. And just to give a little frame of reference, and if you did walk the site, one thing we added to the staking was a couple of grade elevations. You'll see in this area, so there will be a change in this roadway grade of about 1.5 feet, but nothing that won't be much more than the berms that are built. It can all blend very well together with the conditions out there. One goal is to not create any other low points that could cause drainage, which is this hatched area represents some potential regrading as we tie in the slopes to the existing grass area. This is an existing grass area along the roadway. So that's one thing we're doing, is also not creating other new low points. So then as the runoff gets to the end, we've proposed some infiltration BMPs, which are best management practices. Consists of along the entire edge of the parking area, some pavement will actually be removed and replaced with both a pea stone gravel pre-treatment area, which is a 1 foot wide area that's used for pre-treatment, and then an infiltration trench that'll be both surface pea stone and then filter fabric to clean wash stone under that. So, and that is along this entire length all the way to here, which is over about 100 feet. So, we plan to both provide that storage and significant infiltration capacity for the project. Existing road is pavement. The plan is to repave the pavement. One thing that exists today as a handicap space, we'd like to put that back, and that would be on the pavement as a requirement. The gravel bike parking area would remain. There's actually a little bit wider width on the trench in that area. So, you know, the main goal is to fix the drainage conditions. Another goal is to work within the existing pavement with the existing work that is on the site. Erosion control is proposed. Just one note I'd like to make regarding a small change that came up over the weekend. The Saconesset Hills Association, many people that attended reviewed the project and voted to support the project. One note, we had originally planned, there's a timber tie. It's more of a curb, but it's also a wall. It's basically timber 6x8s, so 2 6-inch high pieces in timber, forming both a stop, you know, like a parking stop, as well as a small 1 foot high retaining wall. We had originally proposed to remove that and just replace it with a wood guardrail. However, we would like to just keep that landscape tie wall. I think a couple 10-foot sections may have been hit slightly over the years. We would replace it in kind, but I think that would create even less disturbance for the site. Any sections that might be rotted out, but it's generally in good shape. So if this project were to go forward tonight, I think that could be a simple, it's just basically a change to this note. As well, guardrails are anchored typically, but technically it's a structure in the velocity zone. So I think the landscape tie wall that's there today and has held up over time, yeah, we would just like to leave that. I believe that covers everything for this project. We did receive one comment from staff. It was a request if we had, or could we add more drainage, I believe up, you know, midway on the catchment, you know, the runoff area. Basically, Saconesset Hill Road continues up the hill and around and through. We definitely, between Cape and Islands and the association looked at that. Potentially, you know, somewhere in this area could split the difference in half. The outcome of early discussions was we would potentially leave that as a phase 2 to this project. We would, if we were to get approved, we would install as we've designed, monitor the drainage. Hopefully, you know, we've designed it to either withstand large storms, but in the event of a 100 or 500-year storm that we seem to see once a year now, there might be some puddling, but that it would drain within hours, not days, like it does today. So it's very difficult to redevelop a project like that and actually design to a 100-year or 500-year storm. It's usually not feasible. So we would like to reserve additional drainage uphill as sort of a phase 2, based on the performance of this. But I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Jen, do we want to hear the whole project?
It's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
I'd rather see the whole thing presented first. Please.
Okay, no problem. So the next area is over the other portion of the project. It's basically at the end of Wigwam Road and Wigwam Road Extension. There has also been some drainage issues in that area, which the entire focus of this project is, again, to fix a drainage problem. The intersection of Wigwam and this extension point has been known to flood for a number of years. There have been some other proposals that have at least been drafted and thought about. I'm not sure if any went to the commission, but we're looking to install more conventional systems for this area, as it's a little bit more different to add some kind of country drainage and swales into these areas. The main focus is the intersection itself. A rather large puddle forms. We're adding a deep sump catch basin, which allows sediments to drop to the bottom, allows oils and grease to float to the top, and allows the clean water to go out, distribute out to underground galley systems. It's again designed to fit the area with, we believe do not need to take any trees down. We're trying as hard as possible to protect a couple of the trees on the Lynch property here at 15 Wigwam, as well as also not hit water lines and gas lines, but we believe we've fit the system in. And then as part of another project at 34 Wigwam, which has been before you, and a part of that project was stopping drainage issues from the basement of 34 Wigwam. A low point has been created here at before you go out to 8 Wigwam and back to the intersection. That really does not have a very large drainage area associated with it. So the major goal of this is to, any water that could get there, is to both manage it and just make it drain down. Right now it sits basically on pavement. It does not go anywhere. So that is the same type of system at the low point. So both of these are low point systems. And lastly, there's another intermediate low point. The water comes around Arnold Gifford, I believe, is the road that comes down here. And there's a very small high point here in Wigwam. And so this is yet another puddle that eventually overwhelms and makes it back to this intersection. So we're providing even more drainage capacity and leaching capacity. All these systems are designed to have separation to groundwater, to have pre-treatment via the deep sump catch basins, and just designed to manage best possible for the majority of storm events. Again, there could be a large, if I were to design this for a 100-year event, these structures honestly would be about 5 to 6 times the size, and it would be essentially infeasible to fit in this area. So based on some calculations we've run, between the added storage and the leaching capacity, a larger event, 50 or 100-year storm, could again puddle, but it would drain out in hours and not days, basically allowing the road to be trespassable very quickly after that event. The details have been shown. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thanks, Mark. Jen?
Mark, back to the Saconaset Hill one, to the first part. I'm really concerned with the amount of water over there. And that you've got a lot of water coming down that road. Are you sure what you've designed is gonna have the capacity for all of it?
So I have run some numbers, basically both based on the areas draining to it and the puddle that now forms as a result of completing the other project. And I do feel that between the volume in the system and the leaching capacity, that the puddles that we've seen there would drain down within an hour. And that's just, based on the square footage of leaching area versus the shape and size of per se, the one or two puddles I witnessed, so calculating the square footage versus the infiltration rate versus what I did a quick calculation of the volume of water that physically was sitting there. I do feel it would drain down in close to an hour, somewhere in that between being handled to an hour or two to handle that in events such as a couple of those we've had recently.
Okay.
But we fully intend to closely monitor everything. If you guys witness a problem, you throw it back at us, and we'll be putting in more drainage up the street, possibly outside of your jurisdiction, but it would be there. We definitely.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, like I said, some catch basins outside our jurisdiction would just help you by capturing some of the water coming down that road. I mean, it's just coming right down at you. And as we've seen out there, there's a lot of water that pools down there. Okay. And I don't have any questions on your the wigwam ones. Okay. I mean, something has to be done out there. It is a pretty bad drainage issue out there. So something needs to be done. And anything at this point is going to help. But you did say you have that road pitched away from 192, correct?
It's not pitched. It's got Cape Cod berms on it. It's basically, I wouldn't even say crowned, almost just flat, so it'll drain. Actually crown would probably be better, so it runs down both sides, but it's proposed to have Cape Cod berms, so that there should be nothing sneaking over the edge.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Alyssa,
No questions. Thank you.
all right. Commissioner comments. Ron, we're gonna start with you.
Wigwam, just you probably saw the electrical junction boxes that didn't have any covers on them. I know that's not part of our deal, but you should be careful when you walk out there looking at the sites. It was unexpected. As far as the sites, I mean, the projects, I have no questions.
All right. Steve?
I don't have any questions. Thank you. No, I don't have any questions.
Betsy?
So Mark, do you or can you submit your drainage area calculations with these?
I can. Just these are designed for just the small storms. They're not designed for 25, even 50-year storms, but we can if required.
Yeah, well, I'd like to have the calculations in the record, and then if it's not sufficient, it'll give us some idea. I mean, we've all worked on sites out there, and I'm kind of into looking for stormwater drainage these days. And I couldn't believe that there was no stormwater drainage at all on these roads. So at least, if you have them, if you already have those calculations and more is needed, then you're that much further ahead.
Okay.
That's all.
You kind of have a basis.
Yeah, and I'd like to actually go back to Ron's comment. Jen, could you follow up on that? If there's an electrical issue out there?
There's two junction boxes right by the drain, right by the puddle on Wigwam that don't have covers. If you walked out there to look at the drain and you weren't watching where you're going, you're going to break a leg.
Okay, so
Never mind the electrical problems that are associated with it.
So 2 electrical junction boxes without covers.
Right.
Those green ones you're talking
The green
about?
on the ground. Yeah. You can see the wires and the connections inside.
All right. I don't, because these are private roads, Bets, I don't know if the town will do anything, but
Oh, well, tell the association. I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
would
Yeah.
contact.
that's a big
association.
danger.
That's a problem.
so I believe the president of the association, Mr. Esselman, is in the attendees, so
He's heard.
He's heard, yes.
he has heard that. Mr. Esselman, that is something you probably really want to investigate and correct.
Yeah, it's a liability issue for sure.
Okay.
Those were my only questions, Jamie. Thank you. And thanks,
All right.
Mark.
Courtney,
Yeah, I have several. A general comment is that all of these drainage systems you're putting in are great, but there better be a management plan for them because storm drains like that have a way of filling up with sediment, and if they're not maintained, they don't work, and they spend a lot of money, and then they're gone in a couple of years. So to extend that, now I'll go down to the parking lot. I'm particularly concerned about the drains that you're planning to put in down there. That location is really exposed. The wind blows, the sand blows, those drains are all gonna fill up. So we need to know how that's all gonna get resolved. As far as the pressure treated wall there, the 6x or whatever they are, I think that any that need replacing during this project should be done as part of the work. The next thing is that depression. Have you done any test borings in that area to know what the soil is underneath? In other words, if you got a low area next to it, is essentially what the reason for that depression, the fact that it's sinking because the substrate isn't adequate. Do you know? I mean, it's otherwise, if you go and repavement, it's like putting a Band-Aid, it's on a pig,
The depression has been there forever. It's the new berm that has actually created a bowl out of the depression. The pavement is not in poor shape, indicating, it hasn't sunk per se. It's the redevelopment nearby that created basically a tub in that area.
Understood, but if you're trying to solve the problem, you get rid of the depression.
Yes, that's exactly, the ultimate goal is the project.
So what I'm coming back to is there's a depression there. Is that simply a function of poor grading, or is it a function of, the fact that it's peat underneath and it's sinking? In other words, you should get to the bottom of that so we can condition it properly. Okay, because if you're gonna go and grade it out and level it out, again, it's like, you got to know why it's dropped. So that's my point. So management plan, fix those things, figure out why that depression is there, fix it. And if it means getting down and doing test borings, that's all there is to the up. As far as the other areas are concerned, I'll reinforce the point. You've got to have a management plan in place for those drainage systems, because otherwise you're wasting your money. That's all I have.
all right. We're gonna stall for a couple seconds, make sure Maury's back up.
I don't see her yet.
I see Artie's, her IT manager's on
Oh,
it.
got it. Hi, Art, didn't see you.
It's Mr. Moriarlo Hawks there.
There you go. All right, my phone, you're going through my phone right now. Make sure this, I always got two things on, just don't move it from there. See the two little things? So you're going through my iPhone, anyway, just leave it there.
Okay.
I put this on.
Maury, you with us?
I'm with you.
Okay. Did you hear the end of that presentation?
I heard everything until Jen came on to say she had a problem with that hold the capacity. So I did not hear the end of it.
Okay. All right, so you're up for questions or comments.
I was gonna ask the same thing Jen did, if, because if they did any, borings or anything, to know what the perk rate was there. To know how much clay, there's a lot of clay out that way. And how it would affect the system, that's all. Thank you.
Mark, did you guys do perk test?
The wigwam area, we did do perk tests, just 40 feet away for the Andrews project. There is a layer of material that will need to be removed, but then there's also clean sand below that.
Oh, good.
And then we also have data for the other area, which again, any unsuitable layer will be removed in order for the drainage to be in, bottom of the drainage to be in sandy material.
And to have the right separation. Thank you very much, Mark.
All right. Any other commissioner comments or questions? Okay, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman, but I am gonna say that, Mark, you didn't submit an operations and maintenance plan, did you?
I don't believe so. We submitted a redevelopment
Yeah, I
checklist,
see
but,
that.
you
I
know,
do-
if,
I do think it's important to have one in this case. I mean,
Yeah.
there is no drainage out there right now, so these little systems are gonna be taking the bulk of the drainage. And I do think it's, we need to make sure that they're maintained properly. There's some sort of schedule out there. And that also the association knows what's involved with the maintenance of these types of systems, how many times they have to be cleaned out. So I think that seeing an operations and operation and maintenance plan prior to closing this would be prudent.
I don't think we could condition it.
Oh, we could, but does the board want to see the operation and maintenance plan? If we condition it, it comes to us.
I'd like to see it.
Mark?
I mean, it will, definitely meet the guidelines within the stormwater management standards. These two specific BMPs do have, so at a minimum, it'll meet that. And this has been a very big topic of discussion with the association, particularly on the Saconesset project. I could definitely see annually, potentially the pea stone being scraped away to the filter fabric removed and replaced. So I'd be comfortable with providing an O&M either, at a later meeting or as a condition. But it's definitely 100% on the radar. But again, these, like the catch basins out at Wigwam, I believe those are just open bottom leach pits that, even though they've been pumping those and maintaining those, they just fail eventually. So that is a major component, particular Wigwam, the deep sump catch basins that are solid, so they can clean them out 100%. I'm comfortable either way with that O&M, but they are definitely aware of ongoing maintenance needs that these systems will require.
Okay. Courtney, something new?
Well, I'd like to see this presented to the commission as a whole, rather than thrown on it as a condition.
Maury?
One of the concerns I have is with all the development when you in these areas, and that's where I see a lot of failure, whether they're, grass swales, rain gardens, catch basins, any kind of systems like that. Projects go on and, you've seen it, all of us have seen it. You go by and all the silts running down the road, running into these basins, and the O&M is huge, especially down there where, again, there's not a lot of the area on all sides of these proposed areas have been inundated over the last 10 years with development there, in silt, basically clogging all the perkable soil. So the O&M, I think, would be very important.
Mark, were you paying attention to our next continuance date?
I was at another meeting and I missed the first few things, so I plead, I do know the association is primed and ready to go, particularly on the Saconesset area to beat the summer and before the next rainstorm. But in any event, you know, whatever the commission requires, we can, you know, if
Unfortunately, we're pushing you guys out to June 5th. That's all we can do. I know it's a while. If the board wants to make a concession for this one, we could probably. Where's my schedule? Where's my schedule? Still not used to my new setup here.
Jen, help me out here. Why is this a concession? What burden are we putting on staff asking for this to be conditioned for a maintenance program? Do you know what I'm asking?
It's not, but I thought some commissioners wanted to see the operation and maintenance plan themselves. It's not putting anything on us. I mean, we'll look at it.
Okay, Betsy?
I don't personally don't need to see it. If
No,
Jen
no.
wants to call in individual commissioners who want to look over it, that's fine with me. I'd just as soon close it and let them get this work started.
Courtney, you good with that if they submit the O and M before they start work and you can come and review it?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'd be
Then we're
good with
good.
that.
I can't imagine that they wouldn't accept any input from us. I mean, if Courtney, if you saw that and you had a suggestion or two, you know, I don't know, I just can't see anybody going, ignoring it.
No,
You know
no,
what I
that's,
mean?
no, that's fine. When that gets submitted, Jen, call me. I'll come in and look at it.
Okay, we'll send it to you,
'Cause
Court.
I know that area very well, and I know.
Yeah.
I know how badly that stuff, how exposed that parking lot is. You put infiltration things down there, they're gonna fill up with sand in a week, you know? So that concerns me. They go and spend all this money and it's worthless after 2 weeks in a storm. So that's why I want to see a maintenance plan. Otherwise, and that's for the benefit of the folks in Saconesset. It's not just because I'm trying to be a pain in the neck in the resident curmudgeon. I'm trying to make this workable for the people in Saconesset Hills.
Oh, absolutely. If they're gonna spend the money to do the drainage work,
Absolutely,
then
yeah.
they should want to have it maintained properly.
Yep.
So I'm going to make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. So Mark, you guys want to put some time into creating this plan and knowing that it's going to be a condition. And then just, you know, come up with that, get it to staff, you know, sooner than later. And then we can review it and maybe give you some input that would help. Maybe it'd be complete figure of speech, but we don't need to add anything to it.
Yeah, and Mark, please submit the drainage calcs as Beth's requested.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, the motion and the second on the table is to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury?
Carla Hawk's eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve? It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Night, Mark.
Good night.
All right, next up, our continued request for hearing under notice of intent that has been previously continued brings us to request to amend an existing order of conditions. John and Judith Ramondi, 25 Beckles Road, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4896 to permit a driveway expansion, remove a walkway, and remove and replace 2 trees. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Verselli is back with us this evening to present his amended project.
Excellent. Welcome back, Mr. Borselli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, again, Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant. John and Judith Ramonde. The property at 25 Beckles Road should be familiar to you. You issued an order of conditions in the recent past that allowed for house renovations. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Almost forgot. The renovations were outlined with color coding, and they included removing a garage and rebuilding it and then putting a dormer on, and then interior renovations as well. As the applicant uses his house more regularly with these renovations, he's requesting permission to add some additional driveway area to park his extended family and guests. And that parking would be a gravel driveway parallel to Beckles Road. And it would be in the outer buffer zone B to the top of a coastal bank on the opposite side of the house from the coastal bank and other wetland resources. That driveway is shown as like a half moon pervious driveway in this location. This original design contemplated the removal of 2 cedar trees to allow for the driveway to be built, and this driveway would allow for 2 cars to be parked, 2 additional cars. And the 2 trees that we were proposing to remove were proposed to be mitigated for and installed down in this area shaded in green. The staff report made mention of the fact that there's some invasives down here, and the invasives would need to be managed before the cedars could be installed, and that's reasonable. And they asked us to consider other options for how the driveway could be constructed and located. And we did. We looked at it. We got the staff report yesterday, and I had a conversation with Alyssa about this. And there appears to be an option that would allow this driveway in its entirety to be slid down or towards the bottom of the page, if you will, such that the 2 trees could be retained, and this driveway would be shifted down probably another 10 or 12 feet in this direction. It would all still be on a level area of the property, all still within the B zone. So we appreciate the recommendation, and I think we'd like to proceed that way. The problem is I didn't have an opportunity to revise the plan in a timely manner to present it to you. I know better than to submit a plan less than a week prior to the hearing. So, but I'm hoping that if I described that revision sufficiently, that I could submit a revised plan you could still close the hearing and proceed, because I think the gist of the project is the same. It's actually a bit of an improvement because the 2 trees don't need to be removed, and it would allow, I know you've got a heavy agendas coming up, and it'd allow you to close the hearing so that the order could be issued sooner than later and they could do the work. But I also understand if you need a continuance, but I'm hoping you can consider that as you review this project. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Mike. And we appreciate you looking out for us on our schedule.
I don't have any questions, and I have no problem conditioning that. I think it's a good solution to the problem, not to the problem, but it's a good solution and it'll save those trees.
Agreed. Alyssa?
No questions. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Commissioner comments. Steve?
Thank you for the lead. I don't have any comments,
All right,
but
Betsy, oh, sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm not sure I was on the quorum, but I just wanted to make sure that I am available.
This is new.
Yeah,
This is a new
you're on the
amendment.
quorum.
I'm sorry, this is Beckles. I'm mixed up. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, my
right.
comment is, I thought Alyssa had a really good suggestion. It eliminates two problems. It keeps the trees and you don't have to worry. You can deal with the invasives at some later point.
Yes, agreed. We will probably be back for that.
All right,
That's it. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Mike.
right.
Thanks, Alyssa. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, John Boy. Courtney,
No, I think this is a good project. I like the suggestion of moving it down to save the trees and all of that. My only question, and I keep coming up with, I have to ask these questions on a lot of these projects. The work, about 60% of the work appears to be proposed in the layout of Beckles Road, not on the person's property. So what's the deal with that?
Yeah, Beckles Road is private.
Okay,
All property owners have what they call a fee to the center line.
okay, so the owner that technically goes, it's an easement rather than, yeah.
Yes, but others have rights to pass and repass, and you can't prohibit their ability to pass and repass, and this won't prohibit them from passing.
No, I understood. It's more of a technical question. So they own to the center of the road, so they can go ahead and do the work. No, that's all I needed to know. Thank you very much. Good project.
and who said staff doesn't design projects? All right. Maury,
Excellent compromise. No questions. Thank you.
Ron,
Same opinion, great compromise, a good project, no questions. One comment though, the site is really sloppy, and I know if you walked it, it's tight and sloppy. I don't know what the other audit conditions were about keeping it neat during the construction, but it's not.
We'll look into it, Ron.
This is a leaking,
Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
There is somebody with their hand raised that I will promote. There's a Peter Daringer. Peter, I'm going to promote you to a panelist so you can address the board. You're gonna have to click on and accept being promoted up as a panelist. Okay. Need to turn your microphone on, sir, and your video. There you go.
There he is. Evening, sir, you're up.
Okay, thank you very much for hearing me. I'm actually speaking on behalf of Tom Garabedian, who's the president of the Beckles Road Association, and has trouble getting into the chat box. I think his question is that whether it is clear that that no cars or parts of cars will intrude into the paved portion of Beckles Road when this new driveway is built. Beckles Road is a very narrow private way, and cars parked or even intruding even when they're parked up on the berm and intruding into the roadway cause a safety hazard.
Mr. Chairman, I can answer that if you.
Sure.
No, as part of this project, no cars are anticipated or should be in the paved portion of Beckles Road. In fact, quite the contrary, this driveway will allow for cars that wouldn't fit in the current driveway not to park on the paved portion of Beckles Road, but to be parked off the paved portion in the driveway that would just serve this residence.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you good, Mr. Dorringer?
Yes.
Excellent. Betsy,
I think there's a post and rail fence also that's shown, and so in the new plan, Can you show, I mean, obviously you're not gonna have the post and rail fence across where the driveway is.
Correct. That post and rail fence is in the shoulder, and that portion of the post and rail fence where the proposed driveway is located would be removed, and there'd be a grass strip between the new driveway and the existing paved Beckles Road.
Okay, and you'll show that on your new plan.
Yes.
That's all. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks,
All
Mark.
right. Thank you. Jen, is there anything else in the public chat function, please?
Nothing else in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
Excellent. All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
That night.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Boselli.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night, Mike.
Good night.
All right, next up, request to extend an existing order of conditions. First up, Town of Falmouth, 62 John Parker Road, Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 25-4515, requesting a 1-year extension.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we recommend a 1-year extension.
Bird, all right. Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawk second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to grant a 1-year extension. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the extension. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
That night.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 1-year extension. Next up, Edward and Salpy, they're Stepananian, 29 Nauset Avenue East, Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 25-4627, requesting a 1-year extension. Jen?
Again, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a 1-year extension.
Bird, so
moved.
move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to grant a 1-year extension. Questions or comments? We're voting on the extension. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Ron,
Aye.
Steve.
That aye.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 1-year extension. Next up, continued request for a hearing under an enforcement order. Falmouth Yacht Club, Inc., 0 Clinton Avenue, map and parcel ID is 46B-02-020-000H. Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted placement of filter fabric and trap rock over the existing riprap. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Falmouth Yacht Club had filed a notice of intent that is scheduled for May 22nd to be heard to address this unpermitted activity. So you will be seeing something in 2 weeks. It's already scheduled for the 22nd. It should already in your packets to fix this area. So I would suggest continuing this out to the 22nd, so we have time to hear the yacht club's proposal.
Okay. Courtney?
Bird, so move.
No. So
Gladfelter,
is the 22nd going to be adequate?
Well, I mean, we can
Maybe.
just continue it out because we're not going to be able to close the matter until the yacht club's, takes the remediation actions. So this is going to be on our agenda for a while because they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to not only remove all the rock, but also perform the repairs that they're looking to do. So it's gonna be a little bit, but I don't want to close this enforcement until that project is completed.
No, I wasn't suggesting that. I was
Oh,
actually
okay.
thinking kicking it further down the road, but then that would take some of the pressure off. So maybe we just leave it the way you said. We'll put it
Yeah,
on
and
for the
then we-
22nd.
Yeah, we can evaluate it. We can get a timeline from them at that point. Condition a timeline and then kick it out. So I think keeping it on the same schedule is the right way to go.
Okay, so the motion and the second on the table is to continue this until May 22nd.
Correct.
Okay. Courtney, you had something else?
No, no.
Okay. All right. So the motion and the second on the table is to continue this till 5:22. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Fellow Hawks Eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, I.
Steve,
That night,
it is unanimous. We have continued this until 5:22. All right. Next up is vote orders of conditions. And Nathan Pieri, 196 Metoxet Road, East Falmouth, Mass. We don't have the proper quorum. So Jen, what's our plan B?
Steve is gonna read and participate under the Mullen Rule. So we can schedule a special meeting to vote that. When is everybody available?
Oh, am
Okay,
I
so
on
just
that
a
board?
reminder before we go too far is that we don't meet next week.
Yeah.
So we would need a meeting for this purpose next week though, for the time frame, correct?
Yes, I'm out on
Of course you are.
Tuesday. Oh, stop.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So do I
Um,
have a question. Am I on this quorum?
You are not.
Okay.
Courtney
So it's
and
gonna
Ron
be Steve.
and Steve are not on the quorum, but Steve is gonna read in it under the Mullen Rule. So that would exclude Ron and Courtney.
So it's
Okay.
gonna be Steve, Maury, Jamie, Betsy. Possibly Kevin is he's back, but we don't know when Kevin's gonna be back, which is why Steve's gonna be our backup. So
Monday
when,
Monday morning at 7 o'clock.
I love it.
Okay,
I'm there.
sure,
We can do it by phone, right?
we can do it on Zoom. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, phone.
Oh, you wanna phone in? Are you,
No, I'll Zoom on my phone. I'm sorry.
okay, are you away, Steve? Do we need to pick a different day?
No, I'm working.
Oh, okay. Okay,
There's so many comments that come to mind from that.
okay, 7 AM on Monday. Good times.
Don't look so excited, Jen. All right, so Betsy,
Steve's
you're
gonna
good with
bring the
that?
donuts.
Made that suggestion. I'm good with it. Maury, you good with that?
I'm fine. Yep.
Okay,
Steve?
I'm good with
Perfect.
it. We'll post the meeting to, well, wait a minute.
48 hours.
I need 48 hours. I'm not gonna have it. I need 48 business hours. I can't post it by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it would have to be Thursday.
Why
and-
not, Jen? Get up early. You know.
um,
Tuesday?
Posted tonight.
I'm trying to
That was
think.
helpful.
All right. We'll get it posted.
Well, it's
Yeah,
gonna
why
create a
couldn't you do
problem.
it tonight?
I just don't know if I can log in. Alyssa, can you log in tonight?
Yeah.
All right, you're putting it on Alyssa. Monday, May 6th, 7 AM. Let's see. Can I get in? Can I get in? Can I get in? Can I get in?
We could do it. Can people do it later on Monday?
Later's better for me, later. 4 o'clock.
How about
Mm.
4 in the afternoon? It's hard for Maury, though.
Why not go after work like 5? 5:30.
Maury's
Make it
day doesn't
time.
end then.
Yeah.
Right, it's still daylight then.
It's quick. I mean, it's not, it's 5 orders we've got to do. It's 1 order. So whatever works for everybody, I'll just make self be there.
Okay,
All right,
let's
you wanna
make
do
it
4 o'clock on Monday
4
then?
PM on Monday.
All right, we'll get it posted by 4 and 4 tomorrow.
Oh, I can't do it.
Well, you want to keep it at 7 AM on Monday? We're good. We'll get it between Alyssa and I, we'll get it posted tonight.
Well, that's better because I don't know when I'm available on Monday.
Okay, we'll do 7
So
AM on
if-
Monday.
If
We'll
that
keep
doesn't
it.
happen, do you have a fallback?
It'll happen. We'll get it posted tonight.
Okay.
Okay?
Alyssa, sorry to throw it at you, but appreciate it. All right, so Monday, 7 AM, just for the purpose of order conditions for 196 Metoxet. Steve, you're gonna read into it, and we're gonna have you in under the Mullen rule. And that's it. So again, next week, no meeting, other than this special meeting. So last,
I'll make a
Motion
motion
to
to
adjourn.
adjourn.
hold on,
Second.
hold on. Jen, do we need to continue this order conditions? Do we need to vote on that, or can we just move it?
No, we just move it.
Okay,
We're still within
Forgotten.
the 21 days. We just move it. We don't have to vote to continue it. We'll just move it.
okay. I'm new at this chairman stuff, so I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
remember what I'm supposed to do.
Now we know.
All right, we got a motion and a second to adjourn.
Gladfelder, aye.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye.
Carla Hawk's eye.
Driscoll, aye.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Night,
Hey, Jen.
everybody.
Night,
Jen.
everyone.
Jen, when are Betsy and I off?
What?
When are our terms up?
I will
June what?
find out for you guys, for you and Bats.
June 30th, right?
It is, but if there's no one to fill your space, you can continue on according to council.
Yeah, that's how it was for the steamship too.
Yeah.
That's
if
what the
there's
law
no-
reads.
Yeah, if there's no one to fill your spots, then you can stay on
Oh, I'm
until
putting a sign
until
up on
somebody
my-
fills your spot.
Assuming you want to stay
I was
on.
gonna say, I'm gonna put a sign out on my lawn, Conservation Commission needed. Good night, everybody. Sorry.
Good night,
All
Maureen.
right.
Good night.
Night, everybody.